But nowadays, the talks at the dinner table are no longer centered around dealing with criminals and criminal issues. The talks at the dinner table are much higher in stakes. We're now talking about dealing with terrorists and terrorist attacks. It's funny how much has changed in a country, and even now, more so than ever, the Second Amendment is so much necessary and so at an all-time high for need based on the conditions that we now live in. When we were younger and things were back in the old days, the only thing we were worried about in this country was a criminal element, right? We dealt with the mob, we dealt with, criminal crime waves and other criminal things that we had to deal with. The common core criminal and thief. That's what we had to worry about and deal with. That's why we carried guns, that's why we defended ourselves from attacks, and that's why the police forces and everything did the job they were doing. They were equipped to take on the common thug, the common criminal that was terrorizing the neighborhood with crime. But nowadays, the talks at the dinner table are no longer centered around dealing with criminals and criminal issues. The talks at the dinner table are much higher in stakes. We're now talking about dealing with terrorists and terrorist attacks. Why now is a family sitting at the dinner table having to talk about defending itself from a terrorist attack versus when the family used to have the talks about preserving and protecting itself from crime waves and smaller criminals? It's changed because politics has changed. The talks around the dinner table has definitely changed because there's now a need for higher levels of defense. Your typical police force is not equipped to take on terrorist attacks. What you have now is a need for the Second Amendment at its highest regard. The purpose of that Second Amendment was for homeland security. It was for in case of an invasion of an outside force that tries to come and force its way inside your country or take your country over from the inside out. So while you have a limited military that's not able to get there faster, you're going to need citizens to stand up and defend their home the same way that your military will until larger reinforcements show up to take care of the problem. Purpose of the Second Amendment. Now Americans are waking up. Now people are really looking at the Second Amendment in its true regard. Now people are looking at the AR-15s and the AK-47s and the M1As and all these other bigger, larger rifles and semi-automatic magazine-fed rifles because they're going to be a lot more effective in dealing with a terrorist element. You see, criminals, you can take care of them with pistol, shotgun. But when it comes to domestic terrorists and you're dealing with true terrorist threats, then you need larger caliber stuff. You're going to need .308 battle rifles. You're going to need chest rigs and extra magazines. You're going to need that 2006 10,000 rounds of ammo stash. All these things now are coming into fruition. And it's funny because when you look at the White House and the administration in charge right now, with all of the things that, with our open borders all around our country, letting in refugees and everything from outside inside, what do you think is going to happen when you're letting in people into this country that don't respect and that hate this country? They're coming in and they're going to meet up and link up and actually try to overrun things from the inside out. So now more than ever, the Second Amendment is necessary because the talks at the dinner table is not about the criminal anymore. It's about a terrorist and a terrorist threat. Now the American people have to rise to the occasion and actually think through and deal with this ourselves versus waiting around for a president who acts like he doesn't see what's happening and maneuvering the people of the country into a better and stronger position. Let's deal with it as it comes.